So we got Brian Bauer back, founder of PHENIX. Last time we talked a lot about asset search, brought up some really big cases like the Venezuelan government and rappers and Bel Air mansions. But today I wanted to talk about things that everyone can kind of relate to. Scamming and deception has been a part of humanity since probably Adam and Eve. I have to imagine Adam was winding a yarn to Eve back then. But what is, Brian, today, the big scams? You know, the scams have always evolved over time. What are the hot ones now that people should be aware of? Like, what should I be warning my parents about today?
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack because there's a lot of them. But I would say just even from 5 to 10 years ago, it was your classic fraud scams, dummy invoices, kickbacks, those types of things, to where it's really evolved on the internet now. And everything is not only we're exposed to what's within our US border, but all of the scammers outside of our US border. And it's absolutely just run rampant. And it's truly heartbreaking, some of the stories that you hear, and we get them numerous weekly. So the latest trend, and you really should be guarded, and this can affect anyone, right? We all get those emails or these crazy on WhatsApp messages, hey, invest in that. But the reason why you get those is because it works. I recently had a case with a client called up and bought some ETFs through some guys and bought some silver coins and things. And he invented some patent to connect two oil pipes together. And
Oh,
and he became a gazillionaire overnight. Really good guy, but a bit of a redneck, unsophisticated. He'd be the first one to tell you that. And so he gave people that he didn't know several $1 million to buy Bitcoin and ETFs, and go figure, they started to ghost him and weren't answering the phone, and so didn't have the background, and so retained us to do the investigation. And oftentimes the coin toss whether these people are from Nigeria or somewhere. These particular were 20-something-year-old kids that we were able to figure out and ascertain, and showed up in a little one office with 6 or 7 of them in Boca Raton, Florida.
no way.
And it looked like Wolf of Wall Street, where they're all jammed in on the phone and they're just dialing for dollars. And so as we show up and start asking questions, it gets a little heated, to where one of the guys threatens to throw me off the balcony. And I politely tell him that you can rant and rave and all those things, but that's not going to change your situation. And yeah, I've been charged by lions and heart attacks and in bad situations, to the point to where no little 20-something-year-old punk is
Yeah.
intimidate. So as we unravel it, and they're all driving G-Wagons and new vehicles and this and that, to where, well, I'm not here for everybody that you scammed. I'm just here for one guy. This could be the best day of your life or the worst day, and you're going to pick that door to walk through. And so typically, as you do those investigations, to get to the point to where, oh, no, the Bitcoin went down and this and that, and he lost a lot of his money. And okay, great, well, show it to me on paper and where to go, and just like any other. And of course, as they couldn't put it together, and they wanted to feed me BS and meet me the next day and show me, and I don't understand Bitcoin. Hey, I understand fraud, and I understand what it is, and we're going to go ahead and create a world of hurt for you. So go figure, they figure out how to come up with the money and make my client whole, right? And
So a lot of this just stems from, whether it's overseas or domestically, just a bunch of shitbags smiling and dialing. until they run into a big thing?
Up to just even 5 years ago, it is something that is so sophisticated. For example, they lose their spouse, they're lost, they go on these dating sites, and then what happens is these piranhas overseas pose as someone else. Hey, I love you. They talk to them every day, but they never meet them. And so I had an investigation locally here where 5 wire transfers going to a mortgage title company were intercepted. So the email didn't get to the title company. It stopped. They changed the wire instructions on the email, send it back, say great. So they pose as the title company, goes back to the mortgage company, and then the mortgage company proceeds to pay. I think it was 5 transactions from $4 million. So they intercept that. They do it. They retain us. We're super excited. We're getting traction. We find all of these people and we get video of where these checks are cashed and where it was put into Bitcoin, and 7 different people involved, Scott. We crisscrossed the country, and every one of these people that were involved was 70 something years old, was asked to open a bank account for $100. And it was, hey, baby, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm going to buy a house. Can you open an account? Because I can't, because I'm overseas and my documents aren't good. So yeah, of course I'll do that. Oh, by the way, I trust you. I'm gonna send $2 million to this bank account. Now I need you to fly across the country and go get me a cashier's check in the name of another person, another money mule, another elderly person, and you follow that. And then they're asked to open a Bitcoin wallet, and they open a Bitcoin, and that's deposited in, and then that money goes to 50, 100 Bitcoin wallets in Europe, to where it just goes and out in the ether, and it's just divided and separated. And the FBI shows up and interviews these 70 something year old, and oh yeah, he's my boyfriend, he's my fiance, this and that. You ever meet him? You ever hit the video button on your WhatsApp? No, these people are just preyed upon. And the point that I'm getting is no bad guy ever touches any of this money. It's laundered and touched by all of these money mules and these elderly people, and ultimately gets into the ether and the Bitcoin world, to where it goes to these 20 something year old Instagram guys and these bad actors overseas. And then it's just completely gone. And these people are not only used as money mules, they're scammed out of their own life savings. So it's just brutal.
So a lot of this sounds like psychological warfare against a desperate subset of the population, lonely elderly people. And then there's a complicated technical backing to all of this that washes the money away.
Yeah, there is so much of it. That particular example that I was giving you, speaking with the FBI agent on the case, he said, Brian, we spend our entire day, every day, just going and interview 7, 8 money mules a day on these cases, and it never leads to the bad guy. So they never meet these people. And so it's heart-wrenching to see these people. And so I guess the biggest warning I can give, because in the world of Bitcoin, everybody wants the get rich quick scheme, and if it's too good to be true. But the reality is, if you just spent the $500 up front to do a general background to see if you were being catfished or not, could save you your life savings. But certainly, as they say, love is blind, right?
A lot of these scams, it sounds like, is just taking advantage of people's inability to see past what is obvious to people on the outside.
Yeah, and I think people get into this digital world and they don't understand it. This was maybe a few months ago. A client calls and says, hey, I kind of dabble and do investments. I have 4 young people working for me, and we let a few go, And then we were talking about, as we had this cold storage Bitcoin wallet, that we should probably make it more secure. So these four youngins all had the seed words and passwords. This individual had 100 Bitcoin, and at the time, Bitcoin was at about 60,000 a Bitcoin. So he had 6 million in Bitcoin. And when he went to go check, it was all gone.
Oh God.
And so $6 million, and then, hey, who had the seed words, who had the phrases? Yeah, I wasn't sophisticated enough. They set it up for me. Oh, one of the guys that I fired, I see now on Instagram, he's unemployed, he's traveling the world and this and that, and it might be a ding, 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 right? And so this person got to the point to where he really couldn't afford our service because he was all in on his entire life savings for this, to where
Jesus.
and so just hearing these stories again are just really heart-wrenching.
It's a weird psychological game you play because you see some of like the blackest hearts on earth. But there is, on the flip side of it, when you recover assets for someone that's been taken advantage of, hopefully that provides some emotional balance. How has this type of stuff shifted your view of humanity?
Yeah, I always came to the same conclusion that I never wanted my children to do what I do, because there is some tremendous life value in being a little bit naive, versus being jaded and being a paid skeptic and always looking at it through another lens, to where the girl at the Starbucks gives the old woman the incorrect change, and she calls her out, and, oh, that's okay, sweetheart, no worries, you made a mistake. Whereas I look at it and say, oh, if that girl does that 10 times a day, she's making an extra $100 or what have you. And so it might have been innocent enough, but through experience, doing what I do, it's hard to look at it through another lens.
It does seem like one of those where early in life you see the good in people, and then depending on what you see, you start to see the bad as bias.
Yeah. I always say there's both sides of the story, then the real story.
So these have to be driven by some criminal enterprises to be sophisticated enough to be making apps and websites and holdings networks and getting lawyers involved. Are these everyday scammers, or a lot of these part of bigger criminal organizations?
Yeah, a lot of them are part of bigger criminal organizations, and I would say some of them are third world governments. It is an absolute way, and in that example I gave you, 600 grand, if that happens 10 times a day or 5 times a day, and you think about that, you can build a pretty damn good website and have a team of scammers in order to do it, because it's a pretty big net.
Yeah, so there's some pretty sophisticated business minds behind all of this, because they're scaling up an organization and sophisticated with legal means, financial behaviors, marketing, sales. It's wild. Some of the best minds in the world are doing this type of crap.
Well, and I always say, if you put all that time and effort into just something that was honest, you'd probably be a multi-millionaire doing it the right way. But it's so easy, and lots of these people are not brought to justice. Our FBI federal system now, it's just filling out this form that goes in the round file each and every time. And there's no resources in this country in order to help these people, certainly put these bad guys in jail, and then help with the financial recovery.
A lot of your customers are obviously like business people and attorneys, but are a lot of your sort of citizens that reach out to you guys, are they about issues like this? where they've been scammed and don't really know where to start because the police are not going to do anything about that type of thing?
Yeah, we're working on a case actively where there's multi-millions of dollars worth of pipe in West Texas, oil pipe that just ended up disappearing. And these pipe weigh thousands of pounds apiece, and so it's crazy to where they'll take this to law enforcement and they just don't have either the ability, the know-how, or really just have any interest in doing it. And so there's such a need for good investigative companies out there in order to be able to help these private companies figure these things out.
We're running kind of out of time right now. I want to leave everybody with one question. You obviously have developed a sophisticated set of tools and resources to go attack these types of hyper technical, sophisticated scammers. So, what would your advice be to the smaller PI firms out there? How can they prepare themselves to fight this new phase of kind of like nerd villain that's hyper technical?
I say all the time that I would be Bill Gates if everybody knew how to find us, because you can read the newspaper and world events and whatever, and that's just nonstop fraud, scams. And again, I'll go, information is power, and the more that you're informed and you can help those clients, the better off that they're going to be.
That's really valuable. And that's why kind of we talk about creating resources for the public out there to kind of help them prevent from getting scammed before it happens.
Absolutely. And I would say go out and hire a company like Scott's to go and help them with your marketing stack and get you the name out. There's lots of good investigators who do a good job, but they just need to let people know that they exist, and the rest will come.
So Brian, thanks for stopping by. I know you got a lot to do today, so we'll proceed with business, and we'll talk next time.
It was fun. Great. Thanks for the talk.
All right. See you, man. Bye, Brian.